Good evening and welcome into Trailblazers Courtside. Jordan Kent and Michael Holton, and we are joined by Trailblazers head coach Terry Stotts. Coach, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so last night, quite a bit of talk about the halftime speech. And we're not going to go there as far as trying to figure out exactly what you said, but I'm curious, as a player, do you ever remember a very spirited halftime speech you had to sit on with the coach before?
Yeah, I forget. I think it was my freshman year. Coach Bliss was upset, and he picked up a can of Coke and was so mad he threw it at the case of Coke that was on the floor. And so as he's yelling, there's this Coke can that's spinning around going So one of the senior players on the team quietly got a towel and kind of placed it over the Coke can that was spinning around and fizzing as Coach Bliss was yelling at us. So that's probably my most memorable one.
Now, was this a senior that got playing time, or was this one of kind of the
He was our captain. I'm pretty sure it was Eddie Fields. He was our senior captain, and otherwise anybody else who had tried to do that would have gotten a little bit of a tongue lashing as well.
Michael, what about you? Anything that stands out?
No, but I've been in a few, and I've been on the delivering end of a few also, where you get emotional at the half.
Yeah, spirited is what they like to say.
Spirited, okay.
So, Coach, Michael and I were watching this game yesterday, and we've been keeping an eye on how teams have been defending Damian. It seems like, and correct me if we're wrong here, Sacramento, they're doubling Damian as he's coming off the pick and roll, and then Denver, they're going underneath the screen. How teams defend Damian, does that change what you guys try to do on offense or change the looks for the other guys on the court at that time, or how does that affect what you do?
We have different ways of attacking different coverages. If teams are going to get out and trap or show or whatever, then it's up to Damian to make good decisions. Last year against the Clippers in the playoffs, that was their strategy for Dame and CJ, and they both did a good job of delivering the ball to Mason most of the time, and then Mason became a facilitator. I think Dame, especially since he's been in the league longer, he's been able to improve his reads on pick and rolls, how teams are playing him, and he knows what works for him and for us.
And I'm curious with Damian. I was here for his opening night as a rookie. At what point, when you were coaching him, did you realize that there was something special about him and his capabilities and what he could be someday as a player?
Well, his rookie year, he just did it on talent and willpower. I mean, he was, he didn't know the league, but he is such a competitor. He always has been, and he has such a strong will that as a rookie he came out and just played hard every night. And I don't know if people realize what he did as a rookie, how difficult that was to sustain a level of excellence throughout 82 games, lead the league in minutes, and everybody kept waiting for him to hit a rookie wall, and he didn't. He persevered, and like I said, through sheer willpower, he got through a very successful rookie season. Since then, he's grown and matured as an NBA player, and he still has that same willpower, but now he understands the league, he understands his teammates, he understands a lot more things, so he thinks the game a little bit more than he did as a rookie.
Coach, talking about that, looking at just from last year to this year, I would have thought last year with the changes in starters and playing with new guys that Dame would have been averaging 30 and trying harder to put more numbers up. It seemed like he flowed into the season, developed, shared, and got people involved. I didn't see this coming this year where he would be scoring 30 points a game and the team flourishing. What is happening within his basketball IQ from last year to this year?
I don't know if I think it's difficult to pinpoint the basketball IQ, but I do think that you can just see he's being more efficient. I think he picks his spots a little bit better. I think he's finishing around the basket a little bit better. I think the quality of his three-point attempts are better, so he's shooting a better percentage. So I think it's incrementally better in a lot of different areas, not just one area.
And then, Coach, on the other side, defensively guarding the ball better. And I think about Dame as a leader, and everybody looks at offense because offense is so entertaining and easy to measure. But I watch your team play, and it's interesting to me to see in-game adjustments defensively from quarter to quarter. Like there'll be a game where the third quarter, they just may seem like you guys are having some challenges and struggles, and then play lockdown game-winning defense in the fourth quarter. Is that more of a coaching, leadership, timeout, or player on the floor, or just winning character?
It's probably more winning in character. I mean, we do make some adjustments, but basically, once you implement your defensive system, philosophy, or whatever you want to call it, you can make some minor adjustments on the fly, but really, I think it's personnel driven that the players really lock into the task at hand. And it's easy to say, well, why don't they do that all the time? Well, it's not that easy. But their fourth quarter defense. Doing what you need to do to win a game. And one of the positives of the season is that maybe our defense hasn't been as good as it needs to be, but we've found ways to win some close games. And you do that with timely stops and timely shot making.
And then the other thing I want to ask you, Coach, is about the value of getting to the free throw line. I mean, I'm looking at Dame and I'm looking at his free throw attempts. And what I think is the correlation with being able to set your defense more that contributes to stops.
We haven't been a big free throw attempt team since I've been here. LaMarcus got to the line a little bit. Damian is getting, every year it seems like he's getting to the line a little bit more. I think there's a knack to getting fouled. I mean, you look at some of the players around the league, historically, they find a way to get to the free throw line. And it is very valuable for an offense to be able to get to the free throw line. And conversely, I think we give up more free throws than anybody else, and that really affects our defense as well. Everybody's talking about the rebounding, which has been a problem. But when you allow teams to get to the free throw line against you, that makes it difficult as well.
It was interesting because you were saying in your post-game press conference that it was a challenge to the players for their mental engagement. Is it difficult during these 82-game seasons for these players to stay engaged night in, night out with how much they have to dial it up every single game? Or is that something they sort of learn as they are in the league longer? Like you mentioned with Damian, he's going so hard every single night, and then he's able to sort of learn something about that. Or is there an art to that?
I do think there's a correlation between experience in the league and defense. It's just, that's what accumulated experience is that you know how to go about your business, you see things, you anticipate things, you know what needs to be done, all those things, and it's a learned experience, and it just takes time. It's not that anyone is unwilling, it just, I've always said, I thought the learning curve for defense in the NBA is more difficult for young players than it is offense. Offense, you go out there, you either make shots, you move around, and you kind of do what you do. Defense, I think it's more cerebral than people realize. They think it's just effort. I think part of experience is the knowledge of seeing something happening before it happens and being in the right place at the right time, and that just takes time.
What are some of those difficult things that you've got to understand on defense then as a player in this league? Is it more than just the pick and roll, or is it being able to play proper weak side defense and know where your man and the ball is at all times so you're not getting caught in a bad position?
I think it's a few things. One is playing against different players, getting to know personnel, what they like to do, playing against different teams and different systems so that you've seen this play come before and you know where to be at the right time. Certainly the speed and aggressiveness, guarding a pick and roll with one player versus guarding a pick and roll with another player. Mm-hmm. Communication is difficult because you tell players, or you want your players to communicate, but sometimes they don't know what to communicate. So rather than communicate something wrong, they just may not say anything. So it's not just one or two things. You can go down the list of things that you need to be able to defend the NBA, and you just there's a myriad of reasons why you get better with time.
And we've seen some pretty impressive performances from Damian Lillard. And I'm wondering, when you're on the sidelines, there's a lot to process in a game. Do you find yourself recognizing when Damian's putting forward like an unbelievable effort like that, or do you still say wow, I guess, at some points when you're watching this league and watching these players go out there and do things?
I've had the good fortune of being with a lot of good players, and when you have those great players, you appreciate them every night. And there are some nights that you just shake your head, whether it's Damian or Dirk Nowitzki or Ray Allen or Gary Payton or Sean Kemp. You just know how fortunate you are to have someone like that on your team.
All right, stick around when we come back. We'll have plenty more with head coach Terry Stotts. You're watching Trailblazers Courtside on CSN. Welcome back to Trailblazers Courtside. Jordan Kent, Michael Holton. We are joined by Trailblazers head coach Terry Stotts. And, Coach, I always like to ask people on the team, you guys travel a lot during the regular season. Do you have a favorite restaurant that you get to visit a couple times during the year? Anything that you can get a little extra excited for when you get a chance to make that visit?
Yeah, there's a restaurant in Minnesota that I really like. It's called J.D. Hoyt's. It's got I don't know, did you ever go there?
I didn't go to J.D. Hoyt's.
J.D. Hoyt's. It's got a buddy bowl. It's got some Cajun catfish and shrimp and jambalaya types, but they also have like the Iowa pork chops. So I kind of hit that place when I go to Minnesota. The tough thing when you travel is whether you want to go to a restaurant that you've been before or if you want to try something new. So that's always, to me, the tough balance, because I do like trying new things.
And I'm always wondering, too, a lot of those nights when you guys get in real late, is it difficult to get that quality food when you're flying in and landing at 2 and 3 in the morning or whatnot, or is it pretty easy for these guys to eat relatively healthy?
We usually have food in the locker room right after the game on the road so that they can get food in their bodies right as soon as they can after a game. Certainly there's food on the plane as well. So I tell you, one thing is that you're never at a loss for having food, because there's food everywhere.
Coach, I got to ask a question about that since we're talking about it. Because, I'm from the old school
You're getting hungry, aren't you?
where you had to have pregame meal at 3:30 and for the 7 o'clock game.
Yep.
And even when I was coaching in college, we thought about that until we started watching kids walk in the gym with a bag of Burger King and get 35.
Right.
When did it change?
I don't know. I mean, obviously everybody believes in good nutrition, and there's still guys. Most of the guys in this league got here by eating fast food, fries,
Right.
fried food, and all that. So I don't. When you're young, you can eat anything. But I really do think the players today are very health conscious and know what is good, and we try and facilitate that with at the practice facility and on the road when we do have team dinners, that it's a healthy menu for them to choose from. But you're still going to see some things in the locker room that hour and a half before the game you're going, really?
So let me just ask one more follow-up question on this, and I'll let it go, because this is a rare opportunity, because I've been thinking about
So
this.
what was your pregame meal?
I was thinking about 9 years. So for 4 years at UCLA,
Steak and baked potato?
No, steak and baked potato. No, hamburger patty, baked potato, butter, honey, Melba toast, green beans, water, iced tea. Every game for 4 years.
That's very similar to what we had. We had some type of steak. We had a baked potato, but you couldn't put butter on it. So we found out honey was good on baked potato. So we had baked potato, steak, and usually some kind of vegetable like green beans or something.
So not to one-up you, Coach, but I want to stay with you. We're dating ourselves. We had the same issue. So we had honey and the butter. So we would have a contest of who could get the smoothest rhythm between the honey and the butter to pour on the baked potato.
I wish I would have had butter to be able to do that. The butter would have been a nice touch.
I'm trying to even think how to transition from that question. You're talking about the generational thing, and I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of college coaches, and one thing they're dealing with is the whole change in social media and how it's affecting their players. Is that something with this new generation of NBA players that we've seen in the last couple of years? Is that a topic that has to be discussed in the locker room, how these players handle social media and the impact it might have on a team or a locker room?
I think our players are very savvy. I think there have been enough examples. I think they all handle themselves very well with their social media. But we do have media training every year, usually in the preseason. And now part of our media training is not just dealing with media, whether it's print or television or whatever, but we also had a social media training so that they understand what can happen, what might happen, and how to be responsible with it.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, as fans are able to get more connected with the players. One thing I've always been curious about, the shift when they started letting fans sit right next to the bench on the side of the court. I don't know when that happened, but is that difficult sometimes when you're coaching? You've got fans that close to you right there and that close to the bench by any chance?
Not really. There's usually some I shouldn't say usually, but there's some interaction between whether it's me or the players and the fans, and usually it's good-spirited. You know, it's nothing. I think the fans enjoy it, the players. Now, when it can go wrong, but I think that's one of the things that makes the NBA really unique is how close the fans are to the game and how much they are involved. I mean, you look at some of the other sports, the major sports. No, there aren't the fans don't have that same intimacy with the game, and I think that's a positive for us.
As I was doing the research for our opportunity to chat with you here, I saw that
research talking with.
I did a little research. It's my journalistic duties, right? You got to scout everyone you're getting ready to work with here. I saw the degree in zoology. Is that
actually zoology?
Zoology. Well, there you go. I'm learning something right
there you
now.
go.
Now, tell me, what was the inspiration for that? Going to school, you have a choice of any major.
Honestly, so I was a pre-dental major, but pre-dent is not a major. You have to declare a major, and so it's usually a science. So I could have chosen physics, chemistry, microbiology, botany. I chose zoology.
Zoology.
You know, and actually zoology and botany are, you know, you have biology and then you got botany and zoology. So basically I'm biology with animals instead of biology with plants.
Now, is that something you would have used if you never got into coaching?
No. It served its purpose. It served its purpose.
Right.
I was accepted to dental school, and I needed to, you know, you need to have a science major. So that was the purpose, and you did have to have a major to get a degree. So I got a degree, and I got accepted to dental school. So, ergo, zoology.
That's big time.
So as Michael and I were watching this game yesterday, there's one moment on offense where we can hear you audibly from the sideline asking the offense to move some more. And when you're looking at the offense, what exactly are you looking for when you're looking for more movement on offense? Is it the ball itself, or is it everyone off the ball, or is it a combination of the two?
You know, we have sets where everybody knows where they're supposed to go, and then we have flow, random offense, where one of the things I believe in is allowing the players to play basketball and make decisions and make reads. When I say move, I would rather, let's say, someone is holding the ball, I would rather somebody go set a back screen on somebody else or go set a ball screen on the ball or do something rather than just watch the guy who has the ball. Because if other players don't do something, then that guy is forced to do something one-on-one. And as good a players as we have in the NBA, one-on-one is a tough score because it's not one-on-one, it's 1 against 5 because you have help defense. So when I'm saying move, it's not directed to any one person. It's like do something to help the flow of the offense in the half court rather than just stand and watch. And it's easy to say, but it's difficult to do because there is a feel to it, and there is a feel of knowing how to move without the ball. And it takes time, and you know, again, dating ourselves is, you know, we grew up playing that way, and one-on-one basketball kind of evolved, and so moving without the ball and setting back screens and down screens and cuts and things like that sometimes don't come as natural.
You know, because while we're dating ourselves, I like to going back into time work. Because I'm watching.
Can we grow our hair out too?
No. I wish I could. Because I watch some stretches in the game where you're not getting stops. You know, and I flash back to walking it up and getting the set and getting to the free throw line. And the game is different today. Right. And I noticed that. I mean, you're comfortable and trusting, and your team is very comfortable with a drag and a quick shot in situations like that, and you play through. Mm-hmm. How did you develop that kind of trust? And because it seems hard.
You know, I've been a believer in offensively in giving the players a structure, but letting them have the freedom to play within that. And you know, it takes time, but I believe that offensive players, you got to play with confidence, and certainly you want it to be a team game, and everybody is confident in their offensive abilities. But playing through mistakes, I think, is important, and you got to understand how we play. Once the team realizes this is how we play, then it's easy to build on that.
We were talking last segment about the team's ability to get to the foul line. And it seems like, especially in fourth quarters as of late, in Damian averaging more than double-digit free throw attempts. Is there an art to drawing those type of fouls and attacking and knowing when to put up a shot and feeling like I can get this through the contact and get the call? Is that something that you learn with years in the league?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Damian took the ball to the basket. He's taken the ball to the basket every year he's been here. But I do think he's getting better at, understanding and reading the defense, understanding the help defenders and the shot blockers, and the difference between driving it into a crowd and not getting a call versus reading and how to draw a foul. You look at a player like James Harden. He knows how to get to the free throw line, and it's a unique talent. Not everybody can do it, but I do think it can be learned, certainly.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Best of luck.
All right,
night.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.